Welcome to another bowling video, another review video, so to say. So today we have a viewer submission, so to say, that's this follower on Instagram has actually asked me for a video review of his bowling, and that is Riz_bowling. So I will showcase his Instagram page here. So if you guys know him, give him a shout out, Riz_bowling, and you can see that he's a fellow two-handed bowler from Singapore. And he sent me 2 videos for me to review, and you can see a lot of his videos here. Very talented two-handed bowler as well. So I've spoken with him. I've got his permission to release my analysis on YouTube. And basically, he is currently 21 and serving the national service. So he has limited time to bowl, but he has been bowling two-handed for the past about 3 to 4 years, and he has gotten to a pretty good stage in bowling. And I think he was bowling in tournaments here as well. Oh, okay. So tournaments. So maybe, okay, let's take a look at this page. Yeah, this was, he was bowling under, wait, this is, which school is this? He was bowling Singapore Temasek Club. Yeah, they were playing in, I think this is the Polite tournament, like the InterVarsity tournament. So I think it's representing a polytechnic, but the resolution of the video is quite low. Okay, so athlete for sports. I can't see the school, man. Resolution did get better here, but can't really see his school. But SIT. Sports something. So one of the tertiary colleges. So he's represented his school team. Pretty good bowler, represented his school team. Yeah, so maybe he did get some coaching from his school coach, perhaps, or maybe his school didn't have a formal coach. But he did play in the inter-school tournaments. That was, I think, should be the InterVarsity tournaments, which is quite a difficult tournament because one of the schools which I am involved with, Bowling in Science, is involved with Team Republic Poly, and Republic Poly has a lot of talented bowlers as well as national bowlers there as well. So it's not an easy tournament by any means. Went for a two-handed clinic. This is with Anthony Simonson. So yeah, so Riz_bowling, all about two-handed bowling here. Okay, so let's take a look at the video he submitted. Okay, let's play the video. It's a little bit loud. So you can see that the video is a bit loud, and can I loop the videos again? Okay, this is first clip. You can see that he has pretty solid fundamentals, good balance, and let's take a look at his second clip as well. So this is his second clip. So overall, you can see just off without slowing down the video, right? That he basically has good fundamentals. He has good balance at the foul line, doesn't fall off balance. Yep, really good stable balance there. Has decent ball speed. Has the straight two-handed arm swing. Because I've talked about bowlers having either the bent elbow arm swing. I mean, for two-handers, I've talked about either the bent elbow two-handed arm swing or the straight elbow two-handed arm swing. So he's one of the latter, which is the straight elbow two-handed arm swing, which typically gives a bowler a little bit more ball speed, but it does sacrifice a bit on the ref rate as well. Okay, so I'm gonna mute the video and we are gonna analyze one by one. So both videos not very different. So first and foremost, let's analyze his finishing position, right? Among the first things I noticed here immediately when he walked here is that he actually has what we call early ball placement timing, because he moves his ball at the start of the second step. You can see him moving his ball here. If we play the video, I wonder if I can play this in slow motion. I don't think so. I don't think I can play this in slow motion. But he typically, you can see when he moves his ball, right, on the second step. So this is first step. And you can see that when he's moving his second step, he he has started his ball motion. So he is what we call early ball placement timing. So that's something I immediately noticed. That's not ideal, but I mean, bowlers can still do it. They can still have early ball placement timing and still be successful. And we're going to look at his timing here as well. So typically we want to look at his finishing position timing. That means when he finishes his slide and delivers his ball. So you can see that as he goes into the slide here, right, his slide is actually still moving. You can see his sliding feet. Okay, let's look at between one frame and the next, right? So you can see that in this frame, his sliding feet is here, right? So pay attention to his sliding feet, right? And you can see that in the next frame, his feet is still moving. It's still moving a little bit. So his feet is actually still moving while he is releasing the ball. And that is actually what we would call either traditional timing, or we'll call it traditional timing on release. So that is actually not ideal for a two-handed bowler, because, or for any one-handed bowler of the modern game, because typically you want to have delayed timing. So what I mean by delayed timing is that the feet, right, has to stop moving before you deliver the ball here. That means when your feet should have stopped moving in this frame. So the feet should have stopped moving on the approach in this frame, and then the ball actually comes down, hand and the ball comes down, and you deliver the shot onto the lane here, straight out. So why delayed timing is because when you have delayed timing, right, you actually are more stable at the foul line, and you can give a little bit more power and ref rate on the ball. Because you want that delayed timing, you want to have this motion from here when you release the ball to here. So you want to have this window, this distance of this window, right, to be able to apply power and lift to the ball. And you want to be stable. Your feet wants to stop moving. You want to be stable when you're delivering power onto the shot. So this is a consequence of his early ball placement timing, because he's placing his ball early during the second step of his approach, which is also why when he gets into the finish position, he is forced into what we call traditional timing instead of delayed timing. So that is typically not good, and that makes his ref rate suffer as well. So, but for a two-hander, his hands, right? Because the benefit of being a two-hander is that you can see here, his hands are underneath the ball, which is something that we all want all two-handers to do, because we have the benefit of not using our thumb. So when his fingers are underneath the ball, even though his timing isn't perfect, he doesn't have that delayed timing, he's still able to impart quite a bit of refs onto the ball. So he still has quite a decent amount of ref rate. So his ball still curves, but you can see that his ball doesn't move that much on the approach. So his ball speed, if we count his ball speed, it is decent, not super fast, definitely not slow as well. So let's count his ball speed here. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 before it hits the pins. So can be a little bit faster. Typically, if you see the two-handed bowlers like those that I review who are playing in the youth division in this recent Singapore youth nationals, right? This recent Singapore Youth Championship that was held recently in the beginning of December at Temasek Club, Singapore Bowling Federation Temasek Club, Rifle Range Road. You will see that the top two-handers there typically have a little bit of a higher ball speed, or even the top one-handers there also have typically a higher ball speed as well, because with the amount of ref rate that they generate, they want to have that higher ball speed. Higher ball speed gives them a little bit more room for error, and at the same time, it also gives them more power when it hits the pins, because, I mean, it's just physics, right? Higher ball speed means more kinetic energy. More kinetic energy means when you hit the pins, you transfer more energy onto the pins, and the pins fly further. So as simple as that. Okay, so let's count his ball speed again. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Yeah, it's not super fast, not super slow, but it can be faster. But I think what he struggles with is because for Reese here, if he tries to accelerate the ball too much, right, his footwork cannot keep up with his timing. Because since he has early ball placement timing, right, his hands actually his arm swing takes a long time for it to reach the bottom here. He starts his arm swing early. Yeah, it starts his arm swing early. Yep. So his arm swing is taking a lot of time to complete, because it starts it early. So if he starts his footwork early here, right? He needs to wait here. Yeah, his footwork has to slow down. His footwork has to slow down because if his footwork goes too fast, right? What he would feel if his footwork goes too fast here, he would feel out of sync. I would imagine, because his arm swing needs to be slow, right? Because he starts his ball placement early. Okay, let me try and reason out the logic here. Because he starts his ball placement early, right? At the second step. So since he starts it early, he has to move his arm swing in a slower speed, correct? Because it goes early, he has to slow down his arm swing in order for his arm swing to reach this position during the release, right? He has to start it slow. So if his arm swing is moving slow, he cannot move his feet any faster. Because if he runs with his feet, right, if he increases his what we call the cadence, or what layman terms we call it the tempo of his footwork. In bowling terms, we call it cadence of his footwork. That means faster cadence means faster tempo. So if he improves his cadence, he speeds up his cadence or speeds up his the tempo of his footwork, he would find that his footwork and his swing would be out of sync. Because his feet will reach the foul line first, but he will feel like his hands are very far behind and they can't catch up because his swing is actually very slow. And his swing has to be slow because of his early timing. So this actually limits his ball speed, because in the modern game, how we teach bowlers to generate ball speed is actually through the cadence, their tempo, and their the cadence of their footwork along with their arm swing. So we actually train two-handed bowlers to have a faster footwork cadence and faster swing cadence. So fast swing as well as fast feet, so that they can get that fast high ball speed onto the lane even without a high backswing. Because as you can see raised here, it is actually impossible to get your arm swing higher than this level. So this level is the level of a two-handed bowler's shoulders, right? Like here, this is his shoulder level. So this is the maximum as high as arm swing a two-hander is able to do. They cannot swing any higher because it's restricted by the flexibility of the human shoulders. So our shoulders cannot go higher than this, and the two-hander cannot have a higher arm swing. So in order to get the ball speed to match the ref rate of a two-hander, we need to increase the ball speed, we need to increase the cadence of both the footwork as well as the swing. And in order to increase the cadence of the footwork and the swing, we need to have delayed timing so that our swing starts late and the swing can be accelerated along with the footwork to give that higher ball speed. So I hope that is easy to understand for everyone here, because I'm struggling to explain it properly. So generally, okay, maybe let me try another attempt to simplify it. Generally, to get higher ball speed, we need faster footwork and faster swing, right? So we need faster footwork and we need a faster swing, right? Faster footwork to accompany faster swing, then we get higher ball speed down the leg. So I hope that simplifies it enough there. So I'm going on a rant there to try and explain my point, but to get faster ball speed, we need faster footwork and faster swing. Okay, and in order to get that faster footwork and faster swing, we need to have a delayed ball placement timing in order for it to be possible. So what we mean by delayed ball placement timing is that the two-handed bowler should place the ball at the end of the second step. So that means this. So you see, this is Reese's first step, right? And then this is his second step. So at the end of his second step, that means only here, while his weight is being transferred over from his second to his third step, right? Only in this point of his footwork, the end of his second step, should the two-handed bowler start the ball placement, start the ball movement here. So Reese is moving his ball a full one step ahead of the recommended timing. So which is why his swing has to be slow in order to accommodate this early ball placement timing. So if we look at his so his swing it looks smooth. So certain good things about Reese's game, right, is that he looks very smooth. Like there doesn't seem to be much tension in his game. Like he doesn't use unnecessary force in his swing, there isn't unnecessary tension. So his game looks really smooth, very fluid, and that's a great thing about his game. So being more fluid and smooth actually helps for the bowler to get precision and accuracy. Because the more muscles you use during your swing and during your release, the harder it is for you to be precise and accurate. Because muscles are good for bursts of power, but they are not good for precision. Because it's like if you imagine a weightlifter that's trying to lift a heavy weight, right? They will jerk the weight up and then push the weight up with force. But if you ask them to like, I want you to raise the weight by just 1 millimeter or 0.1 of a millimeter, there's no way they are able to do that, right? Because they're using so much force in their muscles, they cannot achieve that precision with so many muscles engaged. We are using the example of a weightlifter. But if you are asking like somebody who's like trying to thread a string through a needle hole, like in sewing, right? You have that needle hole which is very small, and you're trying to thread a needle to it. So that requires a lot of precision. So when you do something with that much precision, you have to be very relaxed and very gentle, like smoothing out your breathing, everything, be relaxed and gentle, and use as little force as possible in order to achieve that precision of threading a thread through a needle hole. So that's another example of why, in order to be precise in bowling, you need to use less muscles, need to use less force and less muscles so that you can have that precision and accuracy. So Rhys's game here is very smooth and precise, which is good. Something about his pop-up here, which is not good. Like actually, as Rhys enters the finishing position here, right? His leg actually goes into a nice knee bend here. So good knee bend, his trailing leg actually starts to kick up, which is very normal for most two-handers. But what's not good is that if you notice, right after he releases the ball, he actually straightens up. So from this motion, he actually straightens up into this. So actually straightens his leg up during release. So this is not good. Why it's not good? Because his aiming is actually compromised. Because when Rhys was in the lower position, his head was looking at the break point from this angle. But now that he is raised to this position, okay, maybe I got the colors wrong, right? So when he was having a lower knee bend, his head, right, was around here. He was looking at the break point from this angle. So now that he has stood up into a different position, he is now looking at the break point from this angle instead. So the aiming point, the reference point of where he started to aim at his target and the break point is now totally different. So it affects his consistency and accuracy with this popping up motion. The benefit of this popping up motion is that it helps the bowler to get a little bit more ref rate, because when he goes up here, right? So obviously when he stands up on the approach here, when he stands up, it helps him to accelerate the follow through and the hand upwards. So like imagine the hand was from here, it goes all the way up here because he stands up higher using his sliding foot, right? Using it by straightening his sliding knee. So the hand has gone from from near the lane surface up to where it is. So it actually accelerates the follow through for him without him needing to like raise the hands above the head, right? So it accelerates the follow through in a, I won't say unnatural way, but this is another way of accelerating the follow through. So it accelerates the follow through and creates more lift and more ref rate through this straightening of his sliding knee here. But this is not a technique that we will recommend. Instead, what we will recommend instead is for the bowler to keep the knee bent during release. So keep this knee bent here, but instead, what they're supposed to do here is to have a follow through that goes above their head. So they follow through, they accelerate their swing when it's closer to the release. They accelerate the swing and then they accelerate the follow through as well to have the bowling hand end up above the head in order to get that ref rate and that ball speed. Because with a faster follow through, typically you get higher ref rate, and with that faster cadence as well, faster release and everything, you typically also have a benefit of a higher ball speed as well. Okay, so his balance arm also isn't perfect here. In the first clip, it's actually not too bad, right? His balance arm looks like it was stable during release. So after release, he keeps his balance arm straight. Yep, so pretty good here. Keeps his balance up straight. But of course, he lets it drop after he releases the shot. After the shot goes past the arrows, right? Then he relaxes, which is fine. So for new bowlers here, typically you want to maintain your finishing position, stay in a balanced finishing position at least until after your ball goes past the arrows, and then you can come off that finishing position and relax. So if we look at the second clip, I think it's more of the same thing. So second clip is bowling at a different bowling center. Bowling a little bit of straighter line, very similar line again. So same thing, if you look at this game here, let's look at other aspects of his game, right? So okay. So we can talk about his drift. So what I like about Reese's game is that he doesn't have a lot of drift. So if you watch, his right feet starts in this, and let's look at where he ends up, right? So he ends up relatively straight, right? Okay, maybe we can reference his left feet to see where he ends up. So his left feet starts here, and it ends up relatively straight. So it doesn't drift a lot to the left, which also helps a bowler to be more consistent and accurate. So if you watch, he ends up just a little bit to the left. So he starts at maybe around his left feet starts at maybe around board. So that is 5, 10, 15. This is maybe 18. So his left feet starts at 18. He ends up at around board maybe 20 here. So maybe he drifts left just by 2 boards, very little, but still quite an acceptable level of drift. And same issues here, his knee, right, actually gets straightened. So ideally, you should try and keep your knee bent after you release the ball and not to stand up with the sliding knee. Anything else? Okay. His bowling shoulders are also in a good position as well. So if you look at wrist, so when he takes his stance, his bowling shoulder is okay. It can be a little bit lower, but we need to consider the angle that he's trying to shoot the ball, right? He's trying to deliver the ball in a relatively straight angle for a two-hander. Because if you're talking about deep lines, right, most two-handers can play very deep lines. I myself included, we can play from lines that are as deep as this, right? So when you're playing a really deep line, typically the bowling shoulder should go a lot lower. But since Riz is playing a relatively more direct and straighter line here, you can see that his bowling shoulder is a little bit more level, right? So this is his bowling shoulder, just a little bit tilted or down on the bowling shoulder side. But as he goes into the approach, after he places his ball, you notice that his bowling shoulder goes a lot lower. So he dips his bowling shoulder down, and what this helps him to do is this helps him to create space on the right side of his body. So it also helps that Riz is quite a slender guy. So he has slender hips. He looks relatively tall, slender body, slender build, slender hips. So his hips aren't as much of an issue in blocking the swing. But even if you have slender hips, lowering your bowling shoulder typically will help to create a bit more space on the right side of your body. If your left-hander is on the left side of your body for your swing to come through. So this is all good aspects on his bowling here. Yeah, looks to me like pretty precise because it's really smooth and fluid. Doesn't have a lot of tension in his arm swing. So to me, I think he'll probably be a pretty precise and pretty accurate bowler. So overall there isn't much areas that he could improve on, but the areas that definitely he should work on is his timing. That means delay his ball placement timing by one whole step. But just that change in that timing alone is pretty difficult to achieve by himself. So if Riz is trying to delay his timing by one whole step, right, he needs to move the ball at this step, at the end of the second step. So he needs to move the ball this and this part. So his ball has to be held here, right beside his body. Then he has to walk 2 normal steps at the end of his second normal step. And then he starts to move his ball into the swing. So he has to delay his ball swing, or what we call the ball placement, by one entire step. So that would help him to get more delayed timing on the finishing position, which is here. Get a better delayed timing during the finishing position. Because here his sliding feet is still moving. Yes, you can see here. It's very slight, but if you pay attention to this part, right? If you pay attention to this part, you can see that his sliding feet is actually still moving as the ball comes right beside his feet. So he's still sliding when he's delivering the shot. So this means that he has a traditional timing, and that really doesn't help him to get power and ref rate on the ball. So that delayed timing would help him to get a little bit more power and ref rate on the ball. It will also help Riz to get a little bit higher ball speed. Because right now, the key thing to Riz's game is that his ball speed is not bad, but if he wants to bowl at a higher level, right, especially if he join like national tournaments, or he wants to get just a higher score in general, he actually needs to have a little bit of a higher ball speed. Because when you have more competitive conditions, when you're bowling against other bowlers with higher ball speed than you, when you get the lower ball speed, your ball tends to read the oil a little bit sooner. It's more sensitive to changes in the oil. And when you have that, when your ball is really sensitive to changes in the oil, you're actually at a much of a disadvantage as compared to somebody who has higher ball speed. Because somebody who has higher ball speed would actually have their ball accelerate faster down the lane and ignore a little bit of those slight changes in the oil condition and have more consistent reaction at the back end. So you want to get a little bit of that higher ball speed and higher ref rate, which right now Riz is really not able to do because with Riz's current ball placement timing, right, and his slow swing, he's not able to actually accelerate his cadence anymore. Because if he tries to accelerate his footwork cadence, you would find that his swing and his footwork will be out of sync. Like you'll find that his swing is too slow and it doesn't, it cannot keep in sync with his fast footwork. So this is why if you look at Riz's footwork, right, it's kind of slow, right? It is kind of slow. So so his cadence is like here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see if I can compare with some of the national bowlers that I've reviewed. Okay, let's look at Jeremy. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so Jeremy's last 3 steps is a lot faster, right? So let's repeat that. Let's take a look at count his cadence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and repeat that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see the acceleration in the last 3 steps for Jeremy. And if we go and look back at Riz's timing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's also not bad, right? It's quite close, but you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that 3, 4, 5 is slightly slower. So let's look at this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that 3, 4, 5 is slightly slower than what we have with Jeremy here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So the 3, 4, 5, the last 3 steps from Jeremy is a lot faster. Yes. And this acceleration of that last 3 or last 2 steps, right, is actually what gives that little bit of higher ball speed. And we call this faster cadence or faster tempo, right? So this higher cadence and higher results in higher ball speed. And if you compare the ball speed of Jeremy here, so let's count the ball when he releases and when it hits the pins. 2, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Okay, hits. It's actually about the same. Let's count the ball speed of Riz here. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and hit. Yeah, it's actually still about the same. Actually, it's not too bad. $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and hit. Yeah, so it's actually about the same. So I think I stand corrected. So Riz and Jeremy actually both have about the same ball speed, about similar ball speed as well. So yeah, it's actually good enough. And do we have a shot of Eugene? Okay, so let's take a look at our natural bowler Eugene here, which is here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1,000, 3,000. Yeah, his ball speed is also kind of similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3,000. Yeah, his ball speed is actually kind of similar as well. Let's look at his cadence as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So Eugene actually here has a little bit slower cadence as compared to Jeremy actually for that last 3 to 2 steps. So actually Riz also has that similar cadence, but I feel like Riz is a little bit, just a split second slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. His last 3 steps is just a little bit slightly slower, but basically not much difference. I would say that all 3 of them, both Jeremy, Eugene, and Riz here, would have actually very similar ball speed. Like can't really tell them apart, right? So ball speed is decent enough, but if he wants to go any faster, yeah, he has to work on fixing his timing. Then other than that, really not much I can recommend because his game is already pretty good. Yeah, his game is basically already pretty good. Not much I can recommend to improve. Can only recommend on the changes in the timing. If we look at his hand position during the swing and release, yeah, basically if Riz doesn't want to work on his timing, which is understandable because timing takes a lot of things to work on. Basically, Riz would already be at a certain level where he has to work on the fine skills of like release, hand position in order to accommodate him playing more lines and more angles on the lane. Because typically right now, all I've seen in these 2 videos of Riz playing is that he's playing lines which are this, right? This is a pretty direct line. But if you're playing in the national championships or other national level or international tournaments such as this, if you look at the lines that these bowlers are required to play as dictated by the pattern, right? They have to play really deep lines. So Jeremy is playing, this is I think fresh oil, and they have to play lines that are already pretty deep. Yep. So Jeremy here is playing a line that's pretty deep, that's going through the 4th arrow. He's playing a line from here, whereby if you look at Riz's video, so we compare to Riz's video here, he's actually playing a lot of a more direct line that only goes through the 2nd arrow here. Right, let's repeat and play it. Okay, a little bit deeper, my bad. So a little bit deeper here, I think goes through between the 2nd and 3rd arrow. So Jeremy was actually playing through the 4th arrow. So during the national championships, they have to play lines like this. And then as the lanes dry up, they are also required to play lines which are like as deep as this, right? They have to go through what we call the 2nd arrow, almost like the 2nd arrow from the left in order to hit that break point. So also in certain shorter patterns like the 32 feet or 35 feet international oil patterns, bowlers will be required to use urethane and play lines like this, which is like outside lines like 3-3 or maybe 5-5, right? Direct down the lane, something like this. Really tight lines, really tight angles. So basically, Riz's physical game is actually quite close to being good enough. Just that my gripe about his timing, his ball placement timing. But if you were to fix that, then he should be moving on to learning more advanced things, which is on how to play different lines, like deep lines, direct lines, different lines to combat like different oil conditions that he will actually play against in all this national level and international level tournaments. And at the same time, when you're playing different lines, there has to be a difference in the hand positions as well. So typically, if you're playing a deeper line, what the coaches like us, what we would teach is that they would actually have to hold the ball more on the inside of the ball. So they have to try and have the ball CG, right, more on this side. So to encourage more turn of the hand during release, so that the ball can go further down the lane and come back at a higher, call it rotation angle. I think I'm not saying it right. That's not axis rotation. Yep, at a higher axis rotation, so that their ball can come back from a deeper. They can play from a deeper angle and have their ball come back from a deeper line and strike into the pocket from here, right? So if they are playing on a more direct line, that means if they're playing more on the outside lines, actually we would recommend the bowler to have their hand more underneath the ball. That means more underneath, directly underneath the ball here, right above the center of gravity of the ball, because they actually want to have less axis rotation. Correct. The word that's the word I've been looking for. Less axis rotation. They want the ball to go more end over end if they are playing a straight line, such as this. So they want to have less axis rotation. They want the ball to go. They want the ball to go more end over end. Then they should actually hold the ball in the middle of the ball. And then if they want to have more axis rotation and play a deeper line, that they want the ball to like hook a big C hook and come back into the pocket, then they will have to hold the ball more on the left hand side, on the inside of the ball here, and have the CG of the ball way down over on this side. So what this would do is holding more on the inside of the ball during the stance would actually encourage the bowler to turn their hand more. So they encourage the bowler to turn their hand more this way during release. So they will create more axis rotation, and then during release, and their ball will be able to have a sharper angle when it goes through the break point, when it hits the dry, goes through the break point, and when it comes back into the pocket. So these are the more advanced things that we will teach two-handed bowlers when their physical game are at a good enough level. That means if their game is smooth, like wrist here, if they can hit their target consistently, if they have a decent ball speed. Wrist here actually has decent ball speed as well. So then they will move on and teach them more advanced things. Okay, then I think nothing much for me to analyze on here. Reese is a pretty good bowler, pretty good physical game. He can only get better from here if he wants to work on those flaws, and then he can try and learn more advanced techniques of how to hold his ball during the stance, and how to get that how to play different lines and different angles, so that he can like be more have more of a flexible game, have a more diverse game. Then he can play more of like different oilings, different competitive conditions, and still score on those tournaments. Okay, thank you very much for watching. We will see you guys next time.